Okay. 3, 2, 1. Oh, not bad.
And Dr. Mahmoud Sarhan, welcome to Connectwith. At the FII that was held at Riyadh a few weeks ago, Her Royal Highness Princess Reem Al Bandar spoke to personal branding. She spoke to the skills, the transferable skills that are crucial for driving effective development. She spoke to the need to take a cross-sectoral approach when it comes to training prior to getting involved in the workforce. So that is our entire focus at Connectwith. A few months ago, Dr. Sarhan and I caught up for the first time, and we had a conversation so rich and packed with value. I remember I left that day thinking to myself, I should have filmed that, or I should have recorded that conversation. So going back to one of those transferable skills, storytelling, Connectwith's story began when our conversation ended. And storytelling became a pivotal point when I started thinking about how do I frame the idea behind or the concept behind Connectwith. So like when I was thinking about, okay, what is the best story here to tell? What are the stories that drive effective development? And this one is a very special story. So again, thank you for joining myself and the crew at Connectwith, and welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity.
بالنسبة لحضرتك وبالنسبة ل your experience, what is the best story to tell?
These skills of life, as your introduction also indicated, are of utmost important. Actually, they supersede nowadays the knowledge, knowledge and skills and attitudes, or these days actually will probably prepare students and youngsters into the future better than really just memorizing the knowledge. It is important, but the knowledge is important, like it's available. It's really available. You can access the knowledge everywhere you want nowadays, particularly with the new technology, either computer-based or artificial intelligence-based acquisition of knowledge. This is now attainable to everyone around the globe. And therefore developing the other two, which are very important for success, which is skills, as you mentioned earlier on, as well as the attitude and how really to make relationship with people. And this is really of really significance nowadays, and has to be really impressed in schools, high schools, as well as colleges also. This is very important. So now. The experience that I have in terms of being born here in Jordan and then graduated from University of Jordan back to United States for higher studies and staying there for really almost 20 years and then come back. That circle appears to be fast and easy, but it is not actually. Although it was enjoyable, I enjoyed really every part of it. However, it was really challenging. It needs lots of resilience, lots of persistence, and the challenges that we had when myself and my family were in the United States were enormous. They were not easy to manage. However, if you consciously know that this is part of the physiology, this is really how life is going on. Without being self-conscious that this is resilience, that really will help the new generation actually. Now, this is not taught in a lecture. This is really taught in a mentorship era. So therefore, at schools and in universities, any mentorship program and resources for a student to go and really reflect on these things are very important. And therefore, the classic pedagogy, which is how you deliver the curriculum, should be changed actually into a smaller group, discussion groups and mentorship program for students, rather than just a didactic lecture room type of things. That will take us to maybe education, pedagogy versus andragogy, which is the adult learning theory. That is really also very important. But again, I believe that the whole scheme of really delivering education to students has to be shifted towards really utilizing the higher powers of the brain rather than the memorization of the brain. So it is really how to think rather than how to memorize, the knowledge. Because again, knowledge is accessible, is available, anyone can do it. So this is really important. The story is that your background can come from really an area that typically not necessarily conducive of excellence. I was raised in a large family in a small town and with modest income, to say the best actually, modest income, and despite that and the challenges that accompany the low income of that family, one realized without at that age of my personal life, without really reflecting on it, it happened that I was really pursuing excellence in education during the 60s, early 60s of last century. And that really helped me a lot during that period of time. So I have to work during summer vacation, summer part of the year, where the off school days, I have to work and gain some small amount of money to maybe support my vacations or something in that direction. These small events actually, I believe, are very important. Maybe people can look at them as trivia, but they are very important in building the personality and the resilience that you can move even with less support. Then, if you look at the circumstances and you can judge on it, you probably feel that nothing will come out of that family. But nevertheless, a large family of 11 boys and girls have really sustained all the challenges, and all of them actually achieved status in their country. And move forward and build families. Each of us have his own family and larger family, and so on and so forth. So again, back to resilience. Resilience is very important, and it probably should be also a self-conscious issue. And I was not really self-conscious about resilience until I became really older, and I reflect on the past and found that was really resilience.
When it comes to the Kingdom Health projects, has resilience and persistence been a pivotal point when framing the concept behind the entire project?
Yes, I'll tell you, when I was actually living in Jordan, and I finished my medical school and starting residency, and then I went to the United States. The first thing I faced when I went there to the United States, they said, can you put the program, the strategy for the following 3 years for yourself? I told them I never actually been asked about this, how to think of a strategy, what am I going to do? So they started helping me. They know that this is really my weakness. They started helping me actually of doing things. And then I start committing mistakes as I moved. The reaction of my professors to me, actually, because this is their culture, this is the way how they really help others, is that supportive. Some mistakes caused, thousands of dollars for the institution because I was not supposed to do it this way, but I did it this way. And then they never blame me of doing this way. And, I was surprised to say that. So we learned that this doesn't work. Let's do it this way. Maybe this way it will work better. Again, these mistakes are not intentional mistakes that, I want to try something that no one tried, but it didn't work. So it cost some financial burden to the institution. This is the way actually discovery happened. With bold thinking outside the box, and then try it. It didn't happen one time, two times, three times. The third time, actually, we discovered something that is really fantastic, and the lab that I work on actually won Nobel Prize. So that to that extent, actually. So you trying and having a problem once or twice or three times, and that doesn't matter, because this is the physiology, this is the pathway, this is the framework that things happen, and therefore it has to be encouraged, it has to be perceived as part of the process rather than that is really foreign to it. And that will build the results, and the resilience and the resistance and persistence and all those things.
Being someone who has been internationally educated and coming back to the region, what would you advise someone like me who wants to do the same? We both know that I've spent 11 years overseas, and then my goal is to come back and give back and do more and do better. So what was your experience when it came to coming back, and what would you advise other people or other international students?
That's an important question. Again, despite the challenges, the easiness of life and maybe progression in the West or the East, in your case from Australia, might be difficult to adapt when you come to a Jordan, for example, where challenges are commonplace. There are challenges. So some people actually react and they leave within 6 months to 12 months. They find another place, the Gulf or back to the country that they were educated in. This is understandable. However, if you look at the value, the impact that you can create when you come back to Jordan or any country in the Middle East, let's say, the impact can be tremendous, can be superlative in terms of the value you're giving to your people here. It is very important to realize that. And if you consciously realize it, then any challenge that you face during the first, let's say, year or so, adapting to the situation, will look really minor as compared to the impact that you probably produce to the country. And each of us will be counting. And therefore, 1,000 there will be more of really impact. And if there is really 1 million people working together and facing challenges, but they know how they can impact the country in any level, medicine, engineering, art, politics, law, any aspect of life, actually, then the country will start moving up by the intellectuality of these people and the resilience and their determination to change despite the difficulties. When I came from United States to King Hussein Cancer Center, I know it was a challenge, and one of my really relatives, he told me, "Don't come. It's really gonna be too bad coming from a great university in the United States and coming back to Jordan." And admittedly, it was challenging. However, what really make us really move forward was really the inherent value that we had, that we have to make a change, and the impact is also very significant. If you stay in Australia, you will make a difference, but you probably improve things from 90 to 91% or 92%. They call it significant improvement. But when you come here and you find things we're operating at, let's say, an average of 65, 70%, you might take it to 80%. That's a 10-point difference, in terms of whatever it is we do. For example, the cancer care in Jordan has improved significantly over the past 20 years because of the creation of King Hussein Cancer Center. And this was a vision of His Majesty. And then executed by two of the princesses in Jordan here. And then they assembled a team, and I was lucky to be part of them. Assembled a team actually to transfer care of cancer in Jordan in the following decade. It took us 2 decades, but now we have one of the best care of cancer in the Middle East. And maybe 99.5% of the people of Jordan do not have to travel outside Jordan to receive great cancer care, at least at KHCC. And nowadays we're improving at the military hospitals and the Ministry of Health hospitals. Actually, they're creating cancer centers, collaborating with King Hussein Cancer Center, and they're now producing great care to cancer in Jordan. That's not trivial. That's very significant, in terms of really impact, and therefore the impact that you can create coming back from the West or the East can be very significant, and this will give you really the ultimate rida that you would like to make a difference in the lives of people. And again, lives of people, not necessarily medicine. It could be law, it could be politics, it could be architect, it could be so many things actually that people come and contribute to the country. In general, I really strongly support those who really consider coming back to Jordan. We were suffering from brain drain over the years, over the past 20, 25 years or so. And now I think it's an opportunity with the progress that happened in Jordan to have brain gain, that is people, intellectuals around the world, Jordanian origin, to come back actually and help the region. The region is, as you see, it's challenging. There are lots of wars, lots of challenges, macro and micro. But again, how people succeed is that they get together and work together and succeed. You cannot give up. You have to continue doing the best that you can do at any level of your life to make an impact. Does that answer you? Yeah.
100%. Personally, I think the youth or our potential as young professionals from the region is immense. I feel like a huge percentage of us are internationally educated, and we've got the best of skills. And I think, not to mention also the innate sense of determination and the innate sense of passion for continuous progression. I think, like for instance, I've told you this before, but my parents have brought us up, me and my siblings in a sense, to always look forward to come back and make better and do better. And I think what I'm trying to do here with Connectwith is kind of create a platform that gives better value to anyone and everyone, and whoever's listening to this podcast, just to kind of understand what are the skills that we are able to share between each other for other people and within for ourselves as well. And I think that's what my next question would be. What advice would you give the young professionals domestically here from the region and from the Middle East in general? The ones who are just about to embark into high school or just about to graduate from high school, the ones that are just about to embark into the workforce or into university or about to graduate from university. So what advice would you give the young professionals before getting into the workforce?
Yeah, the young, either they stay here or they, have the opportunity to go abroad for education. They should really concentrate on the science. They should not concentrate on the ultimate thing, which is, let's say, the certificate or a grade or something. This is icing on the cake. That's fine. This is can be really celebrated eventually. But the most important thing really is the taste of the cake itself, acquiring the knowledge and attitude and the skills that are required to succeed in life. It is very important. Again, the certificate and the grades are icing on the cake. It's good to have an A+, but it should not be the target. The target I should know the subject that I'm learning, being educated for, or what are the skills that should be acquired to apply such science, and what attitude I should really, have to be successful in life. And that's really very important.
What skills in terms of attitude do you think are important? Like specifically, when it comes to attitude, what skills are important to develop for someone who's younger?
The attitude of dealing with challenges.
Yeah, okay.
The attitude of dealing with people around you, the attitude of how to connect with people. Connection with people is nowadays with open society around the world is of utmost importance. Many times this is really even better than marketing. If you really know people and you have the right attitude with people, the people will be attracted to you if you have the right attitude. It's relationship, and it's the managing relationships. Very important.
Earlier this year, I came across a quote, and the quote was saying, "There's power when you are brief and direct, but you carry yourself with measured words and with grace and connection." So connection comes with the empathy. So the quote pretty much said, "Be brief and direct, but graceful and connected."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and again, you mentioned empathy, which is also a great attribute of people. People can be knowledgeable and they can also say great things, but if it is not delivered with empathy, it doesn't really penetrate. It doesn't go through, and people understand it. Empathy is very important. I'm a physician, and it's essential in medicine, but it's also essential in all other really aspects of life. Either at the family level or personal level or at community level. Things should be done with empathy. Even leaders with empathy are more successful than leaders without empathy.
How would you have defined success at 20, at 40, and now?
How do I
define success at 20 years old, at 40, and now?
Well, again, at 20 is probably second year college. Success there actually is probably choosing the right path and excelling in acquiring what is required consciously, from family support to university support, choosing the right path and excelling it. Again, not for the sake of the grades or the certificate, but for the sake of really acquiring what it takes really to be successful, to be impactful, and this is very important. I think 40 to 60 is where the most impact a person can do to people around him, his family, his country, and himself also, or herself if she's a female.
Is that when you came back at 40?
I came at 50, in the middle. 49, I came to Jordan. So then again, that was not really. We came to make an impact, but we were not sure what was going to happen. It's really up in the air. We know that we were supported. We were supported from the hires, really, of the country. We know that, we were given the green light to change. And that change was first misunderstood and was also even doubted that would they be able to change. But the support that we received and the luck, we were lucky, really, that within 3 years, the hospital was re-engineered when they came, and in 10 years it was again obviously a prominent institution in Jordan, and now 22 years later, it's a prominent institution internationally at the level of really international community. Of course, regionally is one of the most prominent cancer centers, the King Hussein Cancer Center, and it is really delivering care equivalent to cancer care around the world. Is there room for improvement? Of course, and this is really the leadership that should really know that there is room for improvement and for equality and equity in people's life. At 60, it's really success is the ability to mentor people to become really leaders. Your ability to really give back and reflect on what you've done right or wrong, and then hopefully tell people to avoid these things and maybe encourage them to adapt these things. And this should come with empathy, with really, and support of the younger generation for those who starting to be 40 or 20. So at 60, I believe people will be wise to really give honest opinion on life and reflections that happen to them, and those who are lucky can write it in a book, for example, or two, write their experiences so people can learn from it. Unfortunately, in our part of the world, this is not common. People don't write usually their experiences. And then when you read experiences from other parts of the world, you learn from them, but one has to be careful because there's context. The context in Jordan is different from the context from UK and different from the context in Australia and so on and so forth. Knowledge can be acquired anywhere, but again, there are things that has to be contextualized to the country you're living in. Does it make sense?
100%. I think one of the things that pushed me to do something like this and to gain more or look for more skills to gain in general was the lack of, how do I say this? The lack of women from the Middle East in business or women from the Middle East in leadership that are in the public eye. And the lack of talks that there are for me to learn from. For me, the one thing that I find really difficult or really challenging to learn is how to be brief and direct, but carry it with class and keeping the level of femininity, because usually leadership is associated with a masculine energy, or these talks or these memoirs that you're talking to, these books that we read are usually more of a masculine energy type of acquired information. But for me, when I came to wanting to learn more, wanting to gain more experience and wanting to gain more skills to become that and to embody that, there was a lack of information provided out there, especially coming from the Middle East. It's a fine line between being direct and brief and assertive, but also carrying it with a bit of empathy and carrying it with a bit of class and a bit of grace, which is more femininely known as well. I think there's very minimal, there's a lack when it comes to who actually speaks about it and who talks about it openly for someone like me to learn from.
Now, it's very important also to realize, Dalia, that if you want to really also have 50-50, that is equal opportunities in terms of leadership and others, you have to mitigate the risk that or the consequences of such things. It's okay to go 50-50 chances, okay? But the consequences that we've learned from the West and the East are also important, For example, fertility rate has decreased significantly in Western countries. In my personal experience, I've mentored and maybe worked with several women, actually, over the past 20 years here in Jordan. And they are really first-class leaders. Mm-hmm. They're really, they started as really junior people with us, and now they become really leaders in their field, either nursing or science or accreditation or quality. They're leading in a very, very positive way, and I'm proud of them. But again, anything that one has to move, we have to learn from other people's experiences and then mitigate that risk or work or manage the whole risk. What should we do actually if let's say fertility in Jordan became 1 or 1.1 or 0.8, like some countries? what would be the difference? Because we are in the East here, we still, family is very important for us, and many people want 2 kids or 3 kids till now. But, we're moving into a 1-kid family or 2-kid family. In many sophisticated families, we're moving in that direction. I'm not saying this is bad or wrong. I'm saying that the consequences of such things have to be managed. We have to manage the consequences of that really process that's going on, not leaving it until there's a problem and then start correcting it. Because there are other people who really preceded us on these experiences, and then they end up actually having problems, and so on and so forth. So this is important. Again, I'm not judging this is right or this is wrong. I'm saying that if you choose to do this, please refer to what happened when this action has been taken by other nations. What were the consequences? Because it's going to be ours, the same consequence. Then manage this process. See how you make it a positive experience rather than something that if you don't learn from others, you're bound to have problems. This is what I meant. Does it make sense to you?
Completely makes sense. Completely. What does the future look like for you? What does the future look like for you?
The future, and again, if you really pay attention to the education and training of our youngster, the youth of Jordan, I think it will be bright. There's no question about it, and ultimate is education, and contemporary education. It's not really didactic education. It's really utilizing what is available, utilizing all technology that's available, and adapt it as we go, and then create a generation that is really creative, robust, believe in themselves, believe in their country, and within 40 years, actually, you'll find a different country, and this happens actually in lots of examples around the world. Actually, we are within 2 to 3 decades. A country can be changed completely from a poor country into a very progressive country. Education is the cornerstone. We have to respect and encourage teachers in elementary schools, secondary schools, and in universities. They have to be, encouraged and supported. They're very well supported. Otherwise, we might continue to adopt applications from others, and we don't contribute to the creativity of such applications, particularly in technology. So, developing the intellectual power of the humans, again, by allowing them to think creatively, is very, very important. We have to concentrate on the youth, and concentrate not by words, but really by deeds that will change the landscape of education in Jordan and the region. Is very important. The KPIs, key performance indicators, sometimes are not in our favor. In Jordan, always we're in the middle. If you take 200 countries, we are in the middle. If you take 100 countries, we are in the middle, and so on and so forth. But I hope that things could change actually into more progressive, and maybe the top, let's say, 20 or 30 countries in the world in education. Education is the key. The way education is done is the key. The pedagogy is really the key for the future.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.